Let's talk just momentarily about the future. Like the industry is changing, the market's a little bit different, technology is changing, like no code builders, AI, all sorts of stuff. And none of us can predict the future. But what do you think, just generally speaking, can we take from the past? Like, what are rock solid kind of principles, whether they be like ways of thinking about design or ways of thinking about like problem solving that will never change, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think one big shift too that I found in myself is like at the beginning of your career, you get stuck to certain ideologies. Like, at the time when I was hitting the market, it was like Adobe XD or like Fireworks or whatever and Flash. And I was learning Flash because I was like, nothing's ever going to hit Flash. And like, ha ha ha, Steve Jobs did. and, and that was gone in a day. Like people's careers were decimated by
Amazing,
that.
right?
Yeah. And and that's really it. Like, people like, oh no, when Figma was in talks with Adobe to be acquired, I was like, there were a lot of designers being like sad about it. And it kind of made me laugh because I remember Sketch kind of like going through this. And I was at Shopify at the time. And I remember us like bemoaning this move in Slack and just being like, oh, this is the worst thing that ever happened to us. And the head of marketing at the time was like, guys, this is great. He was like, this is great for you. Like, this means you're valuable. It means people want to acquire your communities. It means a good thing. Like, designers become millionaires. Like, those people who work at those companies get stock options and they get like this huge financial boost. And what inevitably happens is they take that money and they put it back into the creative community. And I didn't have that sort of foresight, right? And then it's happening again in Figma, and I tweeted the exact same thing. Like, it wasn't my new insight. I just like regurgitated what the head of marketing told me back then. It's like, guys, this is a good thing. Like, if Figma gets acquired by Adobe, sure, Figma may, Adobe is definitely going to annihilate, like, destroy the product. But the good part is all of the employees at Figma get rewarded for their hard work, and that comes back to us. And so I think, to answer your original question, sorry, that was just really long
Oh,
context,
it's
but
great.
like things change. Like tools change, techniques change, trends change. Like we're all of a sudden back to, sorry, maybe 2 years ago, we started going into like this like brutalist, grotesque sort of like art movement on web design where everything was like neon and weird and misaligned and like, really like rudimentary sort of shapes.
Yeah.
And, that was you'll see that again and again. This is not a new thing, right? And it's like people rediscovering like skeuomorphism. I saw a button the other day that looked like a button, and I was like, guys, it's coming back. I was so
It's
excited.
making a comeback.
Yes. And so all of these things you have to know as a designer, like, the longer you stay in, the more you'll see like the tools and the trends will come and go. But what's consistent is you have to be able to, I mean, this is all visual communication. You have to be able to pick up the new language really quickly and apply
Mm.
it where it's necessary and understand the context in which it works well and which it doesn't work well. That's always going to be forever like your primary skill, right?
Yeah. There's like encouragement, I think, in and hope in that thought process, which is like, as long as you just expect that things are gonna change, right? And maybe they'll
Yeah.
come back around. Like, I mean, I'm waiting. I know like skeuomorphism, but it's like cool skeuomorphism. It's like slight skeuomorphism. It's gonna come back. Like no one's gonna bring, as far as like right now, no one's brought back like that gelled Amazon button style. Ooh man, do I hope for some of that, some gelled buttons. But it makes me think about, I have a 13-year-old daughter, and you do like what she wants so badly right now is a pair of Jinko jeans that I used to wear like in the 90s, like the giant like skater jeans.
Yes.
She's like, those are so
Yes.
cool, dad. And I'm like, yeah, they came back around. Like you live long enough, you'll see things wrap back around. And I could either be like an old crotchety man and be like, that was like ridiculous, or back in my day, or I can go, cool, awesome, let's try to find you some. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like welcoming change and being excited about what you can do with change, to me, just seems a little bit more beneficial, a little bit more effective for like your career, for your sanity, I guess.
Yeah, and for every like turnover we have, like every new evolution we have, you start to pick up new things and it makes you better. Like I'm a better designer than I ever was, and I will always continue on that trajectory, hopefully. And it's because I was able to witness, just by nature of time passing. Like, it doesn't have to be as deliberate as people kind of expect. Like, I think there's a real anxiety in your 20s where you're like, oh, I need to pick up all of these skills. Oh my God, I'm going to get drowned out by all of these new things. And it's like, yes, that is totally true. That is reality. But don't worry, time will pass anyway. Like,
Right.
you will pick up all of these things no matter what. And if anything, it's just you pick up the periphery stuff, right? I
Right.
wasn't like hardcore into the brutalesque sort of aesthetic. And I still am not. Like, when I see those websites, I'm like, yeah, okay. I, I get it. I'm not going to pick it up, but I get what you're putting down. And, now that I look at making new websites, I'm like, okay, well, what if I was that designer? Does that mean I would use this typeface instead? And it pushes me in a very particular way. So I think it's really great to always see that sort of evolution, and it makes me better visually. It makes me a better problem solver. All of that stuff.